Is the Procolored X1 UV printer a production powerhouse, or is it a $4,000 maintenance nightmare waiting to happen? With a laser and a UV printer combined into the one machine, it certainly is an interesting concept. They also claim that this combination helps with adhesion for materials like glass and metals, because it can actually etch onto the surface with a laser and then print on top of that surface afterwards. But with the eufyMake E1 UV printer basically landing on people's doorsteps right now, and the xTool UV printer just around the corner apparently, is this all-in-one machine the one you should be dropping your money on when it launches on Kickstarter very soon? With some new information now available, I thought it was a perfect time to take a critical look at it. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to get out of the way is, I suppose, who is Procolored? And this is a fairly new brand to me as well. I haven't been aware of their previous machines, but having a look at their website, they seem to be maybe a fairly big player in the UV printer landscape. But having a look at their website, they certainly have a range of UV printers. So you can go to their procolored.com website, and they have the usual UV DTF films for things like stickers and vinyls. They have UV printers, so you can print directly onto materials. And they also have DTG printers, which I'm assuming is direct to garment. So that would be like printing on shirts and hats and that kind of stuff. So they have a machine for each of these segments. But the one thing I don't see in this list is a laser cutter. So are they familiar with laser cutters? Are they going to have the knowledge and the expertise on combining both laser and UV printing together? Because that's the whole idea of this machine. So is that going to be a problem? Who knows? I'll post a link in the description of the video, but you can find the link to this Kickstarter launch page here. It's not available on Kickstarter yet, but it's basically in that pre-release stage. But first off, the machine itself looks pretty solid. I like the look. It's pretty much what all the other UV printers, or at least the xTool, has this very similar rectangular rounded edge sort of profile. But the main difference here is because of that laser module inside. You do see the orange panels, or the orange transparent panels on the side, and that helps block out those harmful laser wavelengths. But that is pretty much your main. You got the top window and the side window, and there's also a screen which looks very reminiscent of the Bamboo Lab printers, the same sort of style of color display touchscreen on the side. The panels, we don't know what they are. It looks like an emergency stop button on the side here, which is very important for like laser machines. You need to be able to stop them very quickly. And just some examples of what sort of projects you could be making with. And I will move on to this very soon, but really that's what's exciting about this machine. And anyone that's in the UV printing space that's looking at machines like the eufyMake or the xTool is more than likely going to be combining those workflows. So they're going to be laser cutting something and then printing on it. For example, you might be laser cutting some acrylic into a keychain and then using a UV printer to print on top of that. And these machines are doing that in their individual ways. Like eufyMake is purely just a UV printer, and so you'd need some sort of laser machine separate to that to do that. Whereas xTool is more looking at an ecosystem approach, so they'll be able to tie in both their UV printer and their laser cutters through their software. So there'll be a lot of, I'm assuming, 0-point calibrations. Whatever you put into the laser cutter will match what goes into the UV printer, and it's just more of a seamless workflow. But this machine looks like you basically just put your material inside, you use their software, and it does the cutting, it does the printing, and it spits out the final product. So if you can imagine something like this where it looks like a jigsaw puzzle, you can basically put a block of wood material in there, it would print over it, and then it would laser cut out the shape, and it's done. It comes out and it's ready to go. You just take all the waste material away and you have a finished product. That's really cool. That's really efficient and an exciting proposition, I think, for those people that are looking for these unique sellable items. Anyway, let's continue moving on through this. There is a video that sort of shows off the machine, but I'll show you this frame by frame very soon because I did notice some really interesting things in that. Going down the page, we can just see that it's showcasing the all-in-one creation system, both having that laser and engraving and UV printing capabilities. It's going to be compatible with a multitude of materials, which is what all these machines say anyway. And you can also do UV DTF stickers, so you're going to be able to do those vinyls and stuff for objects that you can't directly print onto. So things like tumblers or helmets or skateboards, you can simply print a sticker and put that on and peel away the waste part of the sticker, and you have a finished vinyl on your object. Importantly, there is a vision positioning and IR height sensing modules. So similar to the eufyMake, it will use a laser to level the material to the print head, so it knows exactly how far away that material is, and it will calibrate itself to the correct height. The xTool also has a camera system inside to do that sort of process, and this looks like it's using two things: a vision positioning, which would probably be a camera, and also an infrared height sensing, so I'm assuming that's some sort of light emitting or laser sort of system as well. There is going to be some community and AI creation support. I'm assuming this just means that they have their own software, which is good to know, especially when it comes to laser cutters. It's going to be very important that it's all in the one system and that it's easy to use. I'm not aware of what the Procolor software is like for its existing equipment. Maybe someone can chime in the comments what you think of that software, and whether it's going to be their same software or they're going to release an update or a completely separate software which will just work for this machine. That's what we'll find out later, I suppose. The other interesting thing is that it has fully auto maintenance. So again, similar to the eufyMake, one of the big key selling points to that machine is that it's able to maintain the print head by injecting cleaning fluid and flushing the inks out and keeping that moist so that it doesn't clog up, which is a huge concern with these UV printers. But 2026 is shaping up to be the year of UV printers for the hobbyist at home, because instead of buying these big I wouldn't say $1,000 machines, but tens of $1,000 machines is now coming to that lower reality of sub $10,000 machine. And I'll talk about the price in a moment, because this is probably the more expensive one. Again, they're just talking about the all-in-one system here, so it's going to shorten your production time, and your efficiency and your accuracy is going to improve because you're not having to move around between different machines. You put your material in, it does the work, it spits out a product. That's the cool thing about this one, I think. This is another interesting point, is that they are claiming that it's going to have stronger holding, richer colors. Now, what that means realistically, we're yet to see, because we haven't really seen any examples of this machine printing yet. But their point is that, and if you read the description here, is that the laser can prepare the surface before it prints on it. For instance, with other machines like the eufyMake E1 and potentially the xTool, especially for materials like glass or really slippery metals, they tend to have a surface that it will print on, but you can easily just pick the resin ink off once it's cured and it'll just fall away. And so you need to use some sort of surface preparation. And the other interesting thing is with the UV DTF stickers. Another example again for you here is the eufyMake. It has a few different components that you need to make the stickers. It can do them, but I've got the Laminator behind me, and what happens is you put in the film that the stickers will print onto, and you remove that film. You then need to put it into the Laminator, so it puts the second layer on and kind of seals the sticker inside, and then you need to cut that sticker out. And then when you apply it, you peel off one side, you stick it to whatever, and you peel off the other side, and that's how you transfer your sticker onto a material. Now in this case, it's saying that you don't need that extra machine. You don't need the Laminator, I'm assuming. It will just print out the stickers ready to go. So maybe the laser will cut it out. It will be able to do the laminating and stuff in the machine. That's something to be seen, and you can sort of see a little bit of that later on the page as well. Here it is just talking about the machine is there's some kind of modularity to it. So here is the standard mode. This is what you'd look like when you just get it out of the box and you put it on your table, and it's going to effortlessly do your typical items. And then you have the next mode, which is the A3 Pro mode. And you can see now it's remove that side panel, and it's kind of added an extension bay to it, still enclosed because you need to make sure those laser wavelengths are blocked out to protect your eyes and such. But it now has more room, and it kind of acts as a bit of a pass-through, which you might see with like a laser cutting machine where you kind of move the material through and it has more room to go in and out of the machine. So I'm assuming that's what this is. It's kind of expanding your print size now. And then finally, the UV DTF sticker. So again, you have that modular piece that you take off from the side and you attach on the film attachment, and that is probably feeding into the machine and doing its printing and its laser cutting, and then you just open the machine up and take your stickers out. So that's really cool that it has these attachments, which also means that in the future, if they come up with new ideas or new ways of doing stuff, they can potentially build more on this platform and add more attachments. And then just discussing that it's good for small business owners, it's good for enthusiasts and makers and tech professionals. So, typical marketing stuff. But what's interesting in this picture is right here, what looks like an air filtration device. Now, we don't know what those panels do. I haven't seen a photo with these side panels off, but it may be that you take them off to either access cleaning fluids or ink insertion points, or maybe that's where you attach the air filtration to. I'm not sure. And then finally, they just go through saying like they have such a long history and they've done Kickstarter before, and that's why you should trust us, blah, blah, blah. Finally, the price. So the super early bird, if you register and you probably get an email saying make a small deposit and this is the price you lock in, the super early bird Kickstarter price is $3,799 US, down from its original price of $7,999. That's an expensive machine, really expensive. But you also got to consider that it's not just a printing machine, it's also a laser machine, and potentially more than one laser. I'll show you in the video in a moment. So is that $7,999 price justified? Do you think so? Let me know in the comments. Now, this is what I don't like about this pricing structure, is because sometimes it just feels like marketing. You could go out and say this machine is a $20,000 machine and we're putting it on Kickstarter for just $5,000. You're saving so much money if you buy it now. It's a steep discount for a Kickstarter, but I have seen something similar and it kind of backfired on them a bit. A different company released a 3D scanner on Kickstarter and its retail pricing was $10,000, but their Kickstarter was like $2,500. So people are like, wow, you're saving so much money. You gotta, FOMO, fear of missing out. You gotta buy it now because otherwise you're an idiot if you go buy it for $10,000 in a few months when the Kickstarter ends. But the problem is, after that 3D scanner was actually released, it was listed for $10,000 retail, but it was constantly on sale for like $3,000. So the Kickstarter backers, they got a little bit of a discount, but the normal price they sold it for was like $3,000. I never saw it being sold for full price. And so it's just a bit of a scammy tactic to say like, hey, look how expensive this machine is, but trust me, you're getting a good deal because you're getting it for this much. It's like 70% off. It's just a marketing thing. I'm not saying Procolored is doing it, but the discount is really steep. So I'd be very interested to see if this actually ever retails for $8,000 after the Kickstarter. Now, the next thing I want to show you is the video that is on the Kickstarter page, and we'll just play through it first because there's a few interesting points. So you can see they walk up to the machine, typical kind of stuff. You have the print head and the laser both doing their jobs. It's cutting out, it's printing on glass. Here's some samples. Here's a really cool thing, some sticker stuff, and that's it. So not a huge amount shown, but if you slow it down, you actually see some interesting things. Because the one question that's been on my mind is, how are they going to do this UV printer and laser combination in one machine? At first I thought maybe they're going to do a modular system, which would kind of suck, but what you do is you do your laser cut first, and then the machine pauses and you have to remove the laser, and then you put the print head in, and then it continues, and maybe that kind of system. But I think that'd be a little messy. I thought that was it in the beginning until I slowed down this video a bit. So we'll just skip through this. So here you can see it says print cartridge. So this is definitely the UV printer. And if you pay attention here, here's the belt system. So this is what's moving the print head back and forth. And the bed itself must move the other direction. And then you have the laser modules. So it says laser emitter, designed for laser engraving. And you can see here we have that belt again, and that's why I thought maybe it's just a modular system, because I only see the one belt. So obviously for this thing to move back and forward, that belt's attached to it and it's what pulls it back and forward. And it looks like there's a little bracket on the back, so you have to undo it, remove, unplug the laser and put it back in. The other interesting thing here is it says 20 watts, so it's definitely a module for the laser. And I thought you would have to swap it out, or maybe the print head was behind it or something. So here again, here's a clearer shot, so you can see that belt and the linear rail here, the laser 20 watt module. Next one, you actually see it's got a 2 watt, which is what you would use for metal engraving. So typically you'd have a 10, 20 or 40 watt diode laser for things like woods, leathers, anything you want to cut and engrave. But then you'd have either a 2 or 5 watt IR infrared laser for things like metals, because the diode lasers aren't good at metals, but the IR lasers are good at metal. They will actually mark into those materials. And if we also look, we can see there's another belt up the top here as well. So there's actually 2 gantries. So what I think is happening is we have one belt for the laser head, and I think you would swap this for either the 2 watt or the 20 watt, or maybe there's a 40 watt as well. So you swap the laser depending on the work you're doing, but the print head is maybe on the other side or behind it or something. So I think what's happening is, my assumption is the laser is, say, this side, the print head's on this side, the laser comes in, does its work, goes back, and the print head comes in, does its work. Or maybe they're both on this side and they just come out and do the thing, this one goes out. But I think they're both in the machine at the same time, which is good, because it just means that you're only having to swap one thing, less complicated materials. You're not trying to pull out a whole print head and put it back in and connect things and ink lines and stuff. This looks like a really simple system, I hope. And we can also see on the back here, so we've got our printing cartridge, so that's what's got the print heads in it, that's what's printing. And on this side, I saw it in another shot, that's where the UV lights are for actually curing the UV ink resin. So there you go, you can see those UV lights coming on here to cure the ink as it prints. I just noticed this one as well. It looks like there is a rotary attachment, so that's how they're doing the little glass jar print, and it's just printing directly. It's not using the laser on there, but it looks like there is definitely a rotary attachment. Whether that sits on the bed or they swap the bed out, I'm not too sure. It's a little hard to see, but cool to see that. And then just some examples and the machine itself. So some final things just to wrap things up. One thing I'm concerned about, and I'm sure a lot of other people are concerned about with this particular machine, you're combining lasers which emit a lot of smoke and a lot of trash material into a system that is typically very clean, which is the UV printer side of things. And how is this machine going to deal with that? Because you can imagine if things aren't, sealed away properly and you're getting smoke everywhere, and maybe that smoke's getting attached to the print head and it clogs up. It could be a nightmare for maintenance, I'm going to be honest. But the assuring part is that it looks like this machine exists. Obviously, they've been testing it and they've been figuring these things out in the background. So maybe they have a solution for this. Maybe they've got a method to their madness and they say, no, this works and we're confident and we've got a product that we can bring to market. If that's true, then this looks like a really cool machine. It is certainly something that I would like in the workshop. I think I could create a lot of interesting things with this. And it's something that I've been so excited about the eufyMake for, because of that ability of, and I've said in previous videos, of being able to laser cut things and then print on them, or 3D print things and then print on them. Being able to bring these tools all together with a UV printer gives you so many options. And it can give you, especially if you're like a small business maker, it can give you some really unique products that command a higher price, because potentially only you can make them in your community. That's what's exciting about this machine. Now, I currently have no affiliate links or sponsorship with this company. I hope I can get my hands on one of these. The price for it, honestly, in my opinion, at the discounted Kickstarter rate, I think is pretty enticing. I mean, the eufyMake is $2,500 USD to purchase outright, and that just does UV printing. without all its extra attachments. The xTool, we don't know what the price is, but my assumption is probably in the $3,000 or $4,000 range because they are kind of that premium brand. Now this is probably going to be the high end of the scale, but it's also incorporating two machines into one. So can you look at it like you have a $2,500 UV printer and a $2,500 laser cutter and you're bringing those together? The other big question is, how good is the software? We don't know yet. We haven't seen anything of it. We see a few screenshots, but that could be anything. And also the maintenance. They say it's fully auto maintenance, and we can kind of look at eufyMake as an example of what that could mean, but we still haven't seen anything. We don't know when exactly it's going on to Kickstarter. I mean, this information is new prior to launching onto the Kickstarter, and I can see like a little bit more marketing going on. So they're trying to push it more, which means it could be launching this month or maybe start of next month. I'd assume it's pretty close. So definitely use a link to sign up if you're interested and get access to that early bird. If you are getting the machine, let me know in the comments and let me know what you plan to do with this type of machine and whether you think it's worth getting this machine as that all-in-one package, or do you think, no, I don't want to risk the potential soot and maintenance that could come with a machine like this. I'm going to buy my machine separately, and tell me what machines you're planning to get for that kind of workflow. Well, this video has gone on long enough, so I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you found value in this video, then please consider subscribing to the channel, and thanks for watching.